Hi, I'm Susan, and welcome to December 21st Solstice Stitching. I'm going to read to you the chapter 18 in the First Stitches story about the little girls who are learning to stitch in the 19th century and the way, the materials, the material culture of all of that, and how things were done based on all the reading and research I've done. It's just a fun way to explore that time period and learn a few things for ourselves, using some of those methods or maybe the contemporary ones, whatever you choose. I'm really pleased you're here with me today. I hope you have something warm and toasty to drink if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and something cool to refresh you if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. The winter solstice is such a magical time, as I talked about in my floss tube, and it leads us into the season of celebration and Christmas and all the other holidays that are celebrated at this time of year. So however you celebrate, I hope that you'll join me and put in some of your own stitches in whatever project you're working on to commemorate the 2024 changing of the season. At the end, I will be talking a little bit about a giveaway opportunity that I have for you. Let's start. Chapter 18, December 1870. The house was dark and quiet, and the embers in the fire were glowing, giving Mother the last bit of residual light for her stitching. The traveling photographer was coming tomorrow to make a photo of Farabee. Mother wanted to be sure she looked her best. She'd found it challenging to finish the dress with Farabee around the house. She wanted it to be a surprise. Accessing the trims, buttons, and ribbons needed to embellish the outfit had been so fun for Mother and reminded her of the dresses her mother had sewn for her when she was young. Some of the items had been removed from dresses in Mother's trunk. The new stockings and shoes had been ordered from a catalog that Mother was hopeful they would fit. In the morning, Farabee woke up earlier than usual. She was excited about the photographer coming and the new outfit Mother had been promising. She dressed herself, put on her heavy coat, and headed out to see if the chickens had laid any eggs. Despite the cold, there were a few, and Farabee added them to her basket. When she entered the kitchen, Mother was already making breakfast, and Father was drinking a strong cup of coffee. "Thank you for gathering the eggs," said Mother, as Farabee placed them on the counter. "We have a busy day today." "As soon as we clean up from breakfast, I want you to wash up," said Mother. "Father has already brought in water from the well, and it is warming in the basin. You need to look your best for the photograph today." Farabee hurried along. "I'll meet you in your room to help you get ready." Father smiled as Mother quickly cleaned up the kitchen. He knew she was as excited as Farabee. The photographer was expected to arrive before lunch, and he wanted to clear a space in the drawing room for him to set up near the front window, where there would be the most light. Father could hear Mother in Farabee's room and hoped all his wife's work would make this a special day for the entire family. He thought about Corliss and wished they were all together. He knew Aunt Edith would make the holiday season special for her, and according to the last letter he had received, he knew there was plenty of activity in Louisville this time of year. "Here she is," announced Mother as Farabee entered the room, clutching her doll, Althea. She looked so grown up, and Father felt proud. "Well, aren't you a sight to behold?" he exclaimed. "Mother's hard work has certainly paid off. This will be a day to remember for us all." The furniture had been rearranged in the room, and a streak of winter sunlight was pouring in through the glass window. The faint sound of a cart could be heard and was rapidly growing louder. Farabee felt a bit nervous as it approached. The photographer parked his cart, and Father went out into the cold to offer to water his mules while he was working on the photo. Greetings were exchanged as the photographer and his assistant unloaded chairs and small tables and all kinds of equipment. They wore long coats with fancy velvet collars and bow ties around their necks. Both men had dark hair and mustaches. A chair was placed in the front window facing the back wall of the room. It was covered in the most beautifully stitched needlework, and the light from the window made the finely polished wood shine. Mother recognized the Berlin work on the chair and planned to do some stitching of this type in the new year. Father had returned from the barn and was standing at the entrance to the room. The camera that the man used looked a lot like the accordion Farabee had seen played when the farming families gathered for celebrations, with all its folds out the back. It was on a tall stand at just the right height for him to see into an eyepiece. There was a large drape hanging off the back. The assistant was being directed to move and angle the chair so the light was maximized. After everything was in place, it was time for the photo. "Have a seat in the chair, young lady, and let's get you a proper photo," said the photographer. Farabee took a seat and propped Althea up next to her. "You must not move at all while the photo is being made," he said. The photographer placed a metal plate into the camera. It looked a lot like the templates Farabee had been using for her quilts, and she giggled to herself at the thought. Mother quickly moved a stray clump of hair that was hanging in Farabee's face back into place under her velvet hair ribbon and fluffed her dress and petticoats. "I'm using the dry method of photography today," said the photographer. "Your photo will be ready before I leave. If you would like to purchase a frame case, my assistant can help you pick one when the photo is done." "Are you ready?" said the photographer as he placed the drape over his head and positioned himself. Farabee held still for what seemed like forever. She thought about Althea moving her legs and wanted to laugh. She thought about the pretty outfit she was wearing. She looked at Mother, whose expression was a mix of happy and a bit worried. The seconds ticked away and the photographer emerged from the drape. "We are done," he exclaimed. "You can move now." "Thank heavens," said Mother in a much louder voice than Farabee was used to hearing. "I will be out in the cart while this is processing, and my assistant will begin cleaning up," said the photographer. "Would you like to pick a frame case?" he asked while glancing at Mother. "I think I will leave that to you and my husband," she replied. "I need to get Farabee changed before any of these clothes get dirty. She will need to wear them again for Christmas." Father helped the men pack up everything back into the cart. There was a large box full of beautiful leather photo cases. Some were lined in gold and velvet. Father liked the one with red velvet and gold filigree and handed it to the assistant. When the photo was ready, the photographer slipped it into the frame. "Your daughter is going to be grown before you know it," he said. Father smiled as he felt the sting of time and how quickly it moves. He settled the bill, paying the assistant, and thanked them both for coming out his way. Back in the house, Father placed the photo on the mantel. "We best get going if we're going to gather a Yule log today," he said in a loud voice, hoping Mother and Farabee could hear. "I'll go get the wagon ready." Farabee was dressing for the next event as Mother put together a cold picnic lunch. They could eat on the way to their favorite wooded area to find a log for burning and a Christmas tree. Tonight was the winter solstice, and the family would celebrate the change of season. Mother remembered the stories her mother told of her celebrations in Sweden before immigrating to America. She had been baking favorites along with saffron bread, using the same recipe that had been passed down for generations. Each year, the tiny tin containing the red saffron strands had more and more space. She hoped the general store was able to access more like she had requested before she ran out. It didn't take much to make this delicious bread turn yellow, reminding those who ate it of warmer days to come. The air was brisk in the woods, but not as cold as it would be soon. Farabee had grabbed her sewing bag and her doll quilt. She'd almost finished stitching on the binding. Mother had told her that the tin star she used for the quilting design could be hung on the tree once the quilt was completed. She knew the cart ride would be bumpy, but she was determined to finish. With Mother and Father in the front and Farabee in the back, they set out. All three were covered in buggy quilts and heavy blankets. Mother had a thick shawl covering her shoulders. Farabee nestled down under the warmth with her doll Althea and began her final stitches. After the family had gathered their Yule log and Christmas tree, they headed back. The cold lunch had held them for the adventure, but Farabee was looking forward to the warm soup and cornbread Mother was planning to serve. With the evening meal completed, Father brought in the Yule log. It was a tradition to keep it burning until it was consumed, saving only a small piece to burn until it was along with the new log for next year. The ashes would be spread over the fields to ensure a good harvest come spring. Mother was warming the spiced cider and slicing the saffron bread. Farabee helped Father set up the tree and added the candles her grandmother had brought from Sweden. "We will need to add some dried fruit and nuts in the next few days," said Mother. Father continued to keep the log burning as the family shared their hopes and dreams for the new year. They had been enjoying the cozy room for some time before Mother glanced up at the mantel and exclaimed, "Why, we've been so busy I almost forgot about the photo. It's better than I could have imagined." Farabee joined her mother in front of the warm fire to take a look. Seeing her own image etched into tin made her feel like the luckiest of girls. Farabee decided it was time to pull out her completed doll quilt. She was beaming as Mother hugged her and told her, "I'm so proud of you, Farabee. You've done such an excellent job on this doll quilt. Althea is truly fortunate to have you caring for her. I think it's time for you to hang the tin star on the tree like we planned." Farabee gathered her quilt and wrapped it around Althea. She took the star and hung it on the highest branch she could reach. As she did, she thought of what a wonderful day it had been. And I hope this is a wonderful season for all of you, and to celebrate, and I'd like to do a giveaway, and I'll be sharing that here. As I mentioned on my floss tube, I've been so excited about using perlé, and I have these little packets available, and I'd like to give 4 of them away as my gift to you for being a part of my channel and for joining me in these fun journeys. All you have to do is tell me how you would use the perlé. If you would cross stitch on a lower count of linen, if you would use it for wool applique, if you would stitch embellishment onto an appliqued quilt, how would you use it? I'll pick 4 answers and pass these out. So I wish you the very most wonderful of seasons with your family and friends, and I will be looking forward to lots more adventures in 2025. Thank you so much for joining me today, and make sure in all the chaos of the holidays that you make time for stitching.